appreciation, Maple. Really appreciate it. Well, if they don't rush me, I think I'll be all right.
Introduce some of our colleagues here today.
To my command Master Chief Bill Houlihan.
Hi. Happy birthday. So I understand you're a former chief also, is that right?
No, former enlisted man.
Well, that's good enough for me. That's awesome. Well, I'll tell you, we appreciate the invite, and we appreciate your service. And I cannot say enough. When I heard about this, and when the captain told me about it, the captain said, well, we need to get some sailors there. I said, well, hell, I'm a sailor. This is our 4th Fleet Command Master Chief, J.J. Gonzalez.
Wow.
Happy birthday, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. 243 yesterday. It was our Navy's birthday yesterday. So
That's right.
It's a very big deal today.
Very big deal.
Yeah.
Very great weekend.
Double birthdays.
Yes, sir. Happy birthday, sir.
Thank you.
So we wanted, Dad, we wanted to make sure you had a chance to meet the folks that run this great station that you came out to here and then, and have a chance to meet the leadership team, and also please introduce yourself and the photographer. You got
John Smolinski.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
How are you?
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
So we just wanted to have a chance to say happy birthday, and I think we ought to sing happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Carlos. Happy birthday to you.
What makes every man successful is who?
Wife.
You got it. So, Leland, we
Or
also...
wives, depending upon.
So, faithful wife Leland Joyce of 63 years has helped shape and love and obviously encourage and be that straight, strong arm for you all these years.
She's
So,
great.
Leland, and raising 5 kids and all
They're
the
great.
20 grandkids and 1 great grandbaby who's here tonight and made a mess. But so we celebrate with you too, Leland. So.
We've enjoyed the evening and the place. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you,
guys. Thank y'all very much for putting this together.
Yeah.
I don't need a slide behind.
Picnic at our lake house, and so he and I had this little thing. And so all these young guys came out there with their girlfriends and new wives, and we're out on the beach, and they brought their ski boats, and they were all looking all young and young and so they're all skiing and doing hot dogging, and so Dad said, well, I think I'll ski, Theo. You think you'll pull me in the boat? And I said, okay, Dad. I was in high school. I said, you're to ski today? Yeah, I think I'll ski. And all the young guys were like, oh, Mr. Ed's gonna ski. Come on down. Everybody come down the beach. Watch him. He's gonna ski. He's gonna ski. And someone got on a dock, and they were gonna watch him. They thought it was a big deal that the older gentleman was gonna ski. And so I pull him out, and he's on 2 skis. And if you know anything about that, this is not typical. He's on 2 skis. He's got the rope in between. I said, Dad, are you okay? I'm in the boat. Yeah, Theo, I'm okay. Take it easy on me. I said, okay. So I start the boat, and we go around the lake, and they're all like, woo, look at Mr. Ed. Right as he comes back around, he drops the ski and then sprays them off. And we had the little dog and poniac every year. It was so funny. And they were all falling on the dog. They were it was the funniest thing in the world. Dad was spraying them all.
Well, he used to ski on the beach too, and he'd jump out of
He'd
the
jump
ski
right
and do
there.
like
Let's
a
go.
somersault.
Right on the beach.
Even all
On the
the
beach.
slaloms.
And he's a hot dog on skis. He's a hot dog. But they just love that. So that was good. Dad, you remember that?
Yeah, I heard it.
All right. So no, I'm completely going another direction. Early on, when Theo and I first started dating, I worked at an oil change facility as my first
Corporation.
The corporation. And I wanted to impress Dad, and so because I really wanted to go out with his daughter more, and so I said, Dad, yeah, you need oil change, just come in. I managed it. We'll get you in and out really quick, under 10 minutes. And so he brought that Subaru, and my guys couldn't get the oil filter off. He was in there for like an hour and a half. And it impressed him, all right, I was down in the bay. Come on, please get this thing on. We finally did. I mean, it took forever. So yeah, I do. You remember that, Dad?
I don't remember.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Say no.
And then, so fast forward, she and I are married, and Dad, you had to go out of town or something, and you gave me the keys to your classroom at UNF, and I had to proctor a test, and that was a blast.
Everybody get it in.
I failed them all. I was like, well, they talk really great about you, though, Dad.
Memories of Dad. One was, and I don't know if you remember this, Dad, but over the summer we lived at our country club pool down the street. I mean, lived there from sun up to sundown. And Dad, of course, didn't have the luxury of playing with us every day because he had to go to work. Well, I remember as a little girl, I was probably Rowan or Ava's age, and I had been there all day. And the only reason we would ever come home would be if we were uncomfortable in our wet bathing suits to get into a dry bathing suit or to get something to eat. So I had come home late in the afternoon, and Dad came home from work, and he was changing out of his work clothes, and he looked at me, and I think I put on a dry bathing suit. He said, Adele, you want to go back to the pool? And so the two of us went back to the pool, and it was such a treat to be with you, but also to be in my dry bathing suit and just to be able to go have fun again in the afternoon with Dad. So he was intentional as a father. He was intentional to spend time with us. And then as I got older, certainly growing up in his house, he was and still is the smartest man I know. And so we would ask him any question on history, with me, with spelling. There were certain words I didn't even know how to look up in the dictionary because I was like, Dad. And so he was intentional with his learning. And then as an adult, and we still call him, by the way, since we homeschool at home, we're still calling the living encyclopedia for many questions. But as an adult and living in Tennessee, when Mom and Dad would come up and visit, every night before he would go to bed, he would be downstairs with our little light reading his Bible. So he was intentional about God. And so, Dad, thank you for being so intentional.
Thank you.
So I promised someone in my family near to me, because I have a tendency to speak a little longer than some, that I was going to be shorter than all. So I'm not on my time yet. Leanne was exactly 2 minutes. Was 2 minutes 8 seconds. Michael was 1:29. Adele was 1:57. So we may start right. Michael, tell me when to stop. The clock is running, starting now. So I don't have really funny stories until I heard Michael tell, so if there's time I'll tell this. Mine are life lessons, and so here they are. Number one, and I just learned this today, if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late. And when I heard that, I realized that for nearly 30 years, I have been late to every single event that this family has ever had. But thank you, I'm working on that. Second lesson, and I'll tell you rest of you later, is this is actually a little bit about Edward, but the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Those of you at Edward's retirement ceremony remember a little lesson I learned from my dad.
2 minutes.
And so anybody who wants to join me at the bar afterwards, I'll be happy to. Third, details matter. And I've always believed that relationship trumps details. And I think we have to agree to disagree on that, except if you don't have some details in your life, relationships can falter. And so that's one that I'm still learning. So thank you for that lesson. And the fourth thing I wrote down before Adele said, it was faith of a father. And you've been a role model of that, and I would love to unpack that a little bit more later, but I will not. And the last lesson is, so far, I'm in first place. Happy wife, happy life. And I love how you always say she was the most beautiful girl there.
Yes,
and so for all of you guys here tonight, I am sitting next to the most beautiful woman in this room. 128. 5 points.
When he used to come to our house, I had this game that I got for Christmas, a storybook game where you had to recite the nouns and remember them or something like that. But I remember I loved playing that with Papa, and I'd even bring it down to Florida to play it with him because I always enjoyed how he loved to play games with us and interact with us with the fun we had. So thank you for interacting with us and playing games with us and always being a great grandfather. Thank you.
Good job.
Okay. So Michaela and my story are like exactly the same because it's a really good story. Okay. So one time Michaela and I were actually learning about the Renaissance. Yeah, the Renaissance in history, and so we had a political poster due, and we had to pick someone from the Renaissance age to write a poster about. And so they gave us a list of like a lot of people, and we brought it over to Papa, and he knew something about each and every single person on that list. And so we didn't even need to research it.
Papapedia.
Dad, just speak into this mic.
Thank you. I think that's good grades. Yeah, you're Okay, so something that always comes to mind when I think of Papa is Jimmy D's sausage biscuits. Every single time we would go to your house in Riverside, you would always have this for breakfast, and you always make sure there was an extra box to share with us. So, just like my mom said, that just shows how intentional you were to make sure we were comfortable and had a good time at your house, and I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Mine was when I would always sit in the living room with Papa, and he would bring out the box of cards, match cards, and he would always talk about each one. And he gave me one. I remember that day. It was like a little race car one, and it was so sharp. I love that one. I still have it in my toy box right now.
Okay, we'll start with the back table.
Here, Rowan's got something.
I like walking around the lake with Papa.
I like walking around the lake with you, Papa.
He likes walking around the lake at your place.
So Rowan said. So Joseph and I have a story that we can share about Papa and the great value he added to us and the great things that he taught us over the years. I think it was Thanksgiving at Papa Neely's house in Arlington, probably 5 or 6 years ago. Joseph and I had the healthy habit of staying up until 4 a.m. talking, eating leftover food, stuff from the kitchen. Diet Dr. Pepper, Diet Dr. Pepper, sausage biscuits, the whole 9 yards. And every morning, Papa would come and wake us up at like 11 or 12. And so he was looking out for our health, and he did so in the most humorous ways. Time's up.
Yeah.
Papa, you came in one morning and you said, "Do I need to call a mortician?" I hope that's the only time you had to use that phrase in your house. But that's all he said, and he just walked away after that.
Sleeping in. That's when you came up and you said you were sleeping. You said, "Do I have to call a mortician?" They were happy that you let him sleep in.
Thank you, Papa, for making sure we were not dead.
Or Wes or Jesse? That table?
So this past spring break, we came down to Jacksonville and stayed on the beach and got to visit with Papa and Lily quite a bit. And I still remember the first day that we were here. We went to church with Papa and Lily. So that morning we went over to your place and met up with you. And on our way out, I followed Papa and Ed down the hall a little ways behind them. I distinctly remember Papa asking Ed, "So what do you think of Wes?" he didn't know that I was following. Well, Ed kind of turned around and gave me this look. He goes, "Well, I tell you what I really think, but he's right behind
Also, just a second. Oh, sorry.
hard to hear him. And he was walking with Edward and down the hall, and you said Wes and Jesse were here, and they'd gone to church, but you didn't know Wes was behind you, and you said to Edward, "So, what do you think of Wes?" and Edward said, "Well, I'd tell you, but he's standing right behind us."
Oh, Jesse, that's great. Coming up.
Oh.
So also on this past spring break, Papa and Lily got to come over to the house that my parents rented for the week. And we were sitting at the table, and Wes was sitting beside me, and Papa and Wes started talking about engineering, because Wes is majoring in mechanical engineering, and Papa, of course, had the chemical engineering background. And Papa asked Wes what his specialty was, and Wes said mechanical, and Papa said, "Well, I'm chemical. We're smarter than you." and to piggyback off of that, I mean, what an incredible legacy that you both have set forward for us in education. I mean, you have a room full of people who are very, intentional about education, and it's all because of both of you, really. I mean, we're all truly academically focused as a family, and I want to thank you both for that. Yeah. Okay. Come on up. No, I was going to take Lena's, but I have two. So I think Papa's the one who got us hooked on the coin books, because there was the 50 states of coins. So that was spare extra money when I filled up the book. And then also, I think it's a joint, but for every holiday, like Valentine's or birthdays, they always do like a really nice card with $1, and then I think it goes to $2 and then $5. So in one of my memory boxes in my room, I have like so many $2 bills. So it shows you guys are like very consistent throughout all the years, and I've kept all of those $2 bills. So yeah, whenever I run out of gas.
Isn't as deep as the rest of everybody else's, but when you come to mind, it's our love of ice cream. We had to be old enough to enjoy a Klondike bar with you, because I mean we got to stay up at like, I think it was like 8:30 or 9, and you arrived in life when you got to eat a Klondike bar with Papa. So thanks for the love of ice cream, Papa.
Oh, you're going.
Usually I have to ask for permission. My favorite memory was just recently when we came to announce that we were getting ready to have our grandbaby, or the great-grandchild. And though that was all fun, and it was fun sharing that memory with you, we went out to lunch with Papa, and we went to your favorite restaurant. Is it Barnacle Bill's?
Yes.
And and so we made a big event out of that. And that day we went to Barnacle Bill's, and I remember the smile on Papa's face when we got out to the beach, and then he looked over at Lily, and he said, because Lily was kind of hesitant about going because it was a long drive and everything, and so you made sure you thanked her at the table. He said, "Lily, great idea for lunch." And so now every time one of us has a great idea and the other doesn't exactly see the same, we make sure we thank each other by saying, "Thank you, Lily, great idea."
Should I go? Did I miss my turn up here? Okay, well let me share a couple real quick ones too. And Tim, you hit on a couple that are so important. When you think about Papa, you got to think about a man who is intentional, and you're spot on. So thinking back when I was coming to their house for the very first time, meeting their family, the thing that I fell in love with was you two, followed by your kids. And the first thing I noticed is how similar they were to my family. A stable dad. I mean, a loving dad. A dad that knew how to have fun, but kept control on things, and made it happen for the whole family. Great memory of Papa when I first met him. I was so blown away that he was in his probably mid-50s, and he was water skiing. And I thought, that is studly. That is, I mean, the guy water skis. I thought that was so cool. But what he taught me was, about loving the family, loving your children and investing in them. And Jesse, you said it well. You know, he's invested in every one of us. And in many cases, for the grandchildren, your financial for college. That is a legacy. Your college investment, and you both have done it, has made a huge difference for our kids.
Good.
So you taught me about that. And then, of course, you know, you can't help it, you know, his sense of humor is very dry. So they came out, they've been out several times. When they came to our home in Lakewood, one of the things that's very nearby is an Albertsons. I mean, like less than probably half a mile. It's close by. So what happens when you have a store that's close by? You go there every 20 minutes, right? Because you forget stuff. And I swear, he was out, and he'd see us, gotta go to Albertsons. And about a half hour went by, he goes, isn't it about time for an Albertsons ride? It just dawned on me. Yeah, we really do that. But he also bailed me out when I was dating Leanne, and we were going up to Louisiana to see Sis and Betty for a weekend, and I had these brand new Firestone 500 tires, and I did not know what the word recall meant. I had no idea what recall meant. They recalled these tires because after a while the tread would separate. So we're driving along, been on the road a couple hours, all of a sudden the car's wobbling and tires going like this. I pull off, I go, my gosh, we about lost tread. Well, I'm a college kid, I haven't got several $100s. But Papa bailed me out. I don't know how you get the money to the dealer. I don't know if credit cards were around back then, but anyway. He fronted me the money so I could get tires to finish the trip with his daughter. Yeah, wired the money, I guess. Anyway, you may not recall doing that for me.
I don't recall doing that.
I'm not recalling I paid you back.
He still owes you
This may have been a bad story to share. But anyway, again, always at the ready, always thinking and loving on the family. And that's what I've learned most from you, Papa. So thank you for loving our family.
Back table? Let's start with back table.
So something that I love and have also inherited from you, Papa, is your appetite, and I think that that is evident in your kitchen and in your meal choices at restaurants. You always go for the shrimp buster, and you know have all the pints of ice cream. And that's something that I really take to heart. Not only your physical appetite is something that I admire, but also your spiritual one and your constant pursuit of the Lord in your relationships with your family, and like specifically your wife is something that I look up to a lot and like hope to mimic in my days. And I love you so much. So.
When I was the youngest Joyce, usually we went to a grocery store, and you picked out this special little book called Grandpa's Little One. And you picked that out just for me, and I thank you for it.
Okay.
I know it's already been mentioned, but one memory I always have is whenever we went to the mountains with you guys, we would always stop and get ice cream every time we went to the mountains. I'm noticing ice cream. And it was always very good, so thank you for the taste and ice cream.
So mine is not a specific memory, but I've been lucky enough to be able to visit you every summer since we moved to Washington. So I thank you for your consistency in our life, and you always make those weeks the highlight of my year, whether it be walking around the lake with you or eating butter pecan ice cream. I just enjoy every moment of it. So thank you, Papa. We love you.
Thank you. One memory I have of you, Papa, is one week my family was traveling down to Florida to come visit you, and it was super late, probably 11 or 12. We were just getting in, and you guys were still up and at the door and welcoming us in and helping us bring in the luggage and everything. And there's two characteristics when I think of Papa. I think of these two things, and one of them would be your hospitality. Anybody can relate to this. When we come
and visit you, you're up no matter what time it is. You're welcoming us in, feeding us, you know, whatever it might be. And then the other one people have already talked about is how intentional you are with your grandchildren. And I remember that one night particularly, me walking through the door, and you're like, Charlotte, you had a show recently. How was it? And you asked about my dancing, and that was just really, really sweet. I just really appreciate
Jay, how you doing? My story is it's a funny one. I was like, I remember, this is probably one of the earliest memories I have of y'all. It was at your house, and we got up in the morning, it was St. Patrick's Day, and we always visited you over St. Patrick's Day, it seemed, and often one of us didn't have green. But it was that morning, and I asked you, I was like, Papa, where's your green? Because I wanted to pinch you, obviously. And you looked at me and you said, my underwear. I was like, but then he followed it to say, they weren't always that way.
And you said, my underwear. And then she said, and then you said, they weren't always that way.
So that always has been in my mind. And also, in the mountains, we always had that fun time with y'all, definitely getting the ice cream. But also, we went to that Tapas restaurant that we've always considered Papa's Tapas. So it's just always been fun getting to travel and visit you. And like everyone else has been saying, it's really neat what y'all have done, and to have a family like this, that is, I mean, we're all here together, no one's missing, and that's just incredible that y'all have made such a cool family. Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead and say something. I don't think I need to stand up.
All right.
When I think of Uncle Ed, I always think of, don't you know? Yes, buttercup, don't you know? And the other thing I think of with Uncle Ed is that sense of humor. I mean, right before he says something, the twinkle comes in his eye. It's starting to turn on. And you're waiting breathlessly to find out what it is he's going to impart. So thank you, Uncle Ed.
Well, yeah, so many memories. I mean, I remember when you guys came up as a family when we were all very young, and we went up to the Dillard house. And there was snow on the side of the road, and we pulled the cars over, and you guys got out. You were just, you know, I was looking at you like, what is wrong with them? I was like, Mom, Dad, what are they doing? And they're out there just snow. It's like, they've never seen snow before. I was like, oh. I remember coming to the house with Mom and Dad down in Jacksonville. Back in those days, I had a little more hair. I was probably a little more radical in my younger days. And one thing I always knew could get interesting was when I had political conversations with Ed. Back in my younger days, we didn't exactly see eye to eye like we do today. But those were always fun. I always enjoyed them. He always was trying to steer me in the right direction, literally. I guess the only other thing I can really remember was him telling me a story about this guy that he loaned money to for some tires that never paid him back. Now I know.
He's not in here.
I guess that's it.
Good job.
Steering him in the right direction. And your sense of humor.
Oh, yeah.
And,
you're a good interpreter.
Well, it's sometimes hard to do.
It's her speech pathology degree.
Yes, nurse. Always go to St. Augustine, to Jacksonville every summer, and I don't know what they thought we were doing. Probably when Vicki and Judy and Leanne and I would sit in their room and talk about everything and laugh about everything. Every time you went to Ed and Leland's house, all you did was laugh. That was from the minute you got there to the minute you left. But I do remember having potatoes at your dinner table, and I love potato skins, love them. And we all sat down, and I started to cut, and they didn't cut. And I'm thinking, okay, so this is one of Uncle Ed's jokes, like the buck teeth and, you know, all those things that he does, and like, these are not real potatoes. So I said, these aren't real potatoes, right? And he's like, they're real, of course they're real potatoes. And I'm thinking, how far is he gonna take this? I can't even cut into this potato. And he goes, they have resin on them, and I'm like, rosin?
Rosin baked potatoes.
Well, all I could think of was sap out of a tree. I'm like, what did you do that for? I can't get into them. I don't even remember how we got into them. So they were covered in, they were like rocks, rosin. What is rosin?
Rosin.
It's like sap from a tree.
From the pine
If you ever had that in a system, you really need to have it.
$500 tire spin really quickly and comes out the back.
And they become rosin on potatoes. But one of the best things about your family is that the humor is so evident, and the love that's in the humor, it's never hurtful, it's never self-depreciating. It is always in a great light. It's always meant to make you laugh, and it always does. And there's nothing better in life than being able to laugh with those you love, and you do that in abundance. Both of you have an incredibly happy household, and it's really a pleasure to always be there.
Shannon. In the living room, back at your old house, and it was like Elena had said, when you had made it as an adult or as a big kid. And I think that was 12, I don't know how old you guys set the limit, but that's when we got the ice cream, and that's when we got to stay up late. But it was really watching the Dick Van Dyke, the Andy Griffith Show, I Love Lucy, and we would watch those on repeat. I mean, we'd get like 2 to 3 a night during our entire visit. And so now I've actually asked Nick for Christmas for the entire sets of those. I think we can find them on Amazon. But thank you for just encouraging us to pursue wholesome humor. And it was just fun to be a big kid with you at age 12.
It was a good show. It was more fun.
So, though I'm not blood, I feel so fortunate to have married into this family. Truly, I think the greatest evidence of how great of a man you are is each and every person sitting in this room. You are all incredible individuals. It's been echoed about the education. There are so many people in here who are incredibly accomplished. I think a lot of you follow the Lord and love the Lord with your whole heart. And that doesn't happen by accident. And I know that you have set that as the standard, and it has trickled down. And to echo what my father-in-law said, who's not in here right now, is about the finances and really setting your grandchildren up for success. We have been so incredibly blessed by the savings bonds that you set in place for us when Shannon was born. I mean, that helped us beyond means. I mean, and it helped us to pay off loans. And so I want you to know how impactful that was. But on a bit lighter of a note, I just wanted to say how amazed I was the day that we went out to the St. Francis Barracks with you, and just to see you light up and just your knowledge. I mean, a true encyclopedic knowledge is just such a rare thing. And you literally wrote the book on the St. Francis Barracks, so just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
About the time Jesse and Wes were getting married, I was thinking about that adage that women often marry someone like their father. And I was thinking about it because I don't know Wes very well, and I just wondered, you know, what kind of person he is. Must be great, or Jesse would have fallen in love with him. You know, an adage is not true for everyone, and it's not completely true for anyone. And I have never thought that adage applied to me. You all mostly know my husband. He's a incredibly hard worker. Gave up some things that he would have liked to have done in order to provide for his family. He's incredibly generous with his time and talents and treasures. He's intelligent. He's really not very funny, so, but, okay, he's funny. And so I was, anyway, so around that time I was thinking, yeah, well that adage doesn't really apply to me because Tom and my father were really not that similar in personality or the way they interacted with people. They're just very different people. So I didn't think it applied to me until I was thinking about it, and I thought, you're applying the adage to the wrong dad. And so, Ed, I want to thank you for pitching your tent wide enough to include me. Saturday Night Live skit where the interpreter just speaks it louder.
Well, you can talk I won't remember it later.
I'm also not blood, but family is extremely important to me, and I'm gonna cry. I lost my grandpa just a few months ago, before his 90th birthday. And I was blessed to grow up right next to my grandparents, and my childhood is filled with incredible memories. One of the things that struck me from knowing this family is the amazing relationship that they had with you from the other side of the country, and the investment that you guys have made, and the connections that you have made. That takes a lot of effort, and a lot of intentionality, and that's something that's been spoken about a lot here. And that is something that I knew I loved so much about this family, and I'm so honored to be a part of it now. And on a much lighter note, one of my favorite stories I've heard about you, Papa, that Kyle uses on a frequent basis, it's about doing the dishes. And he said, and maybe this is true, I don't know.
Yes, I know.
So he said, Papa, that when he was growing up and would visit you guys, that you went into the kitchen and would just make a mess of things on purpose when you were tasked with cleaning the dishes, so that Lily would kick you out. That you didn't have to do the dishes, and that you'd come out of the kitchen and wink at everybody. And that is Kyle's favorite story. So whenever he's assigned to something, he'll purposely try and screw it up if he doesn't want to do it. And Papa. So he loves that story. But anyways, that is my second-hand memory of you that I
Well, Pop, we have so many wonderful memories, from going to Book Mine and picking out Hardy Boy stories to watching Dick Van Dyke together and drinking frappuccinos, to going to the stamp store and picking out coins. You'd always only pick out one coin whenever we went to research what you were looking for. So I always appreciate those things, but one of my fondest memories is actually at your expense. We went, Michael and I were just joking about this story. We went to a model toy store, and you let me pick out two toys. And unfortunately, you didn't look at the boxes closely enough. So one was American made, and it was wood, glue, and a couple screws. And the other was made in China, and it was this red plastic Jeep. It looked really cool. So I was really excited to put that one together, but we did the American one first. And it took a couple minutes, worked beautifully. And then we opened up the red Jeep. And we got into that, and we didn't look at the instructions first. And you just got angrier and angrier as we tried to put together this little Ken toy. So the engineer just steaming. And so he finally turns to the instructions, and we go through page after page. It's Chinese, it's Swahili, it's Ebonics. We got everything, but we don't have English. And so I don't think we ever got it put together. And about halfway through, we just couldn't stop giggling. But that's the angriest I've ever seen you. And so Michael found this picture, and so here we are after putting together the two toys.
Look at that. Oh, that's great.
I can speak loud enough so Gigi doesn't have to interpret for me. I have a couple of things that probably most of y'all do not know. And so I'll share. The first one is Dad taught at University of North Florida. He first taught at Jones College, I think, and then it was UNF.
Yeah.
Is that how it went? And he would always hand out his phone number to his students and say, if you're having problems with the homework, give me a call. I cannot tell you the number of times in the middle of dinner somebody would call on it. It was years later that I found out that if you called into Papa and asked for help, you passed the class. And that shows fairness. And that's where mine is all going to go through. If you really tried, you were going to pass the class. And that kind of ties into another one. I graduated from Florida State in the summer of 80. I graduated from Florida State in 83.
Sorry, what does that mean?
Yeah. And the Air Force was responsible of making sure that I had all of the classes I needed to graduate. So I graduated, or thought I graduated, that I'd taken my last class. I got commissioned to second lieutenant, and about 2 months later, Florida State calls up and says, no, you didn't pass all your classes, you still need to take another class. Well, that is just so unfair. I mean, they're the ones that set up my schedule, and now they're telling me that it didn't work out, and Papa immediately, I was crying. Papa immediately goes, I'll handle this. And so he called up UNF, said, I'm going to, bring Edward into one of my classes. We're going to make sure that, he does the work, but he's going to pass. And then that will allow the deal. Turns out Florida State realized that they had made a mistake and came back and said, yes, we are graduating you, and yes, you do have a degree. But you made that effort. It was a fairness issue again. You realized that Florida State had not been fair. And the last one, I'm not going to be able to use the exact words. The last story about fairness is, and you may or may not even remember this, it was, believe it or not, I used to sell Cokes for the Boy Scouts at all of the Gator Bowl games. Right. And Ole Miss was playing Ohio State. And I don't remember whether you had helped out then or whether you already had a seat there, but nevertheless, it's the fourth quarter. You don't sell Cokes in the fourth quarter. So it was real common, you just kind of closed out and everything else was going through. It's the very end of the game. And I go up and sit next to Dad, as we're watching the very end of the game. And the Ohio State coach's name was Woody Hayes. Some of y'all may remember him. Woody Hayes reached out, and after Ole Miss had done a particularly good play, Woody Hayes reached out and punched the player in the face. Yeah, it was a very famous deal. That happened here. We saw it. And Dad looks at him and goes, throw that son of a gun out. And I remember just being shocked because Dad did not use bad language. It was just like, oh my goodness, because it was just not. And I looked, and I was like, who are you talking about? And he goes, that coach. You cannot hit another person's player. Yeah. Fairness. He was always so fair. So Dad, I love you so much. But you've always been so fair to all of your kids. And that's just an example that I remember in particular that I don't think many other people remember.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank John and Leanne.
Yes.
Kathy and Theo and all the other organizers of this most memorable event. So thank you. We know you put a lot of work into this. And I just want to say that it's been an honor and privilege to have married into your family. And as it's been said time and time again, your wisdom and your commitment to faith and family has truly been inspiring to me, and it's created this incredible legacy that when you look out, it really is remarkable. I mean, you don't see this that often, unfortunately, much more. So, I mean, this is great. As you know, I was the last one to marry into the Joyce family, and I think I capped off a series of, was it 4 weddings in 4 years or something? I mean, right. I mean, I'm sure you're still recovering. But anyway, I probably should have waited, but I was moving to Wisconsin, and it gets cold and lonely there. I had to act very fast. But one of the reasons why I went to Wisconsin is because they had this great perk, and that was that you can go to Brazil for 2 months. And so I was thinking, extended sort of honeymoon, you know, after, you know, I was there for a couple months, and it was a great program. The only downside was that the living quarters were, you know, bare bones, to say the least. I mean, it was probably a 400 square foot cinder block studio with spotty electricity, you know, the hot water, you know, was, you know, temperamental at best. And but anyway, we went, and you know, before we went, I knew that you guys loved to travel, so I kind of casually just said to Judy, I said, "Why don't you see if your parents want to come?" You know, thinking that was the polite thing to do, and you came. You came.
No, we
No,
loved
no, and I think that's when we first got to know each other. And
One
really,
room.
One room. Really, one thing I learned about you was your love of children.
Yeah.
And against all advice, you know, Brazil is a beautiful country, but there's a lot of poverty and crime. And so against all advice to not engage the peddlers, we'd be walking the streets of Sao Paulo, Brazil, and a cute little Brazilian boy would come up to you and want to sell a straw hat, and you just couldn't resist yourself. And you would go, "Quantos?" And then literally gangs. And I learned about your sense of adventure. I mean, a couple times you got us in trouble almost when you were taking pictures and engaging these street performers that also perform with knives and whatnot, and you were taking pictures of them, and they wanted money that we did not have to give them, and I don't know exactly what happened, but we had to be bailed out by someone who spoke both English and Portuguese.
Yeah, it was a little frightening.
Yeah, and then one of my best memories of the trip was when we were up in the north of Brazil, and they had these huge sand dunes, and before I knew it, and you were at the top of the sand dune, hugging tightly a Brazilian woman sitting on a sand ski, and you just zoomed down the sand dune. So it was great. No, it was a wonderful trip. I'm glad you came.
I'm glad you invited us.
We did. And we enjoyed it. And just a couple other things I wanted to say. I really do wish my parents had more time to spend with you, because they've always spoken so highly of you, and I know they really, really do like you and respect you. And in fact, my father's not much of a hobbyist, but he started collecting stamps after we met you. So your circle of influence is wide. And again, I just want to say that I feel like a blessed man, because most people just have one father figure in their life, but I have two: my father and my father-in-law. So happy birthday.
Oh.
Go, Judy.
Judy has to be short.
It will be. It has a little different tone, a little different. Good ice cream. It's good maybe to end with this. I didn't know it was planned like that, but this is just a different, not a different, it's the same thing everybody's been saying. But I just wrote something for Dad, and by extension, it applies to Mom too. The heart of a father has treasures to give, secrets to share, lessons to comb. It grows as it loves, it expands to forgive. It's shaped by the potter who beckons it home. My father's heart, transformed by his choice, humble spirit on bended knee, it learned to discern the still small voice. Come, leave your nets, follow me. So leaving safe nets of all that he knew into the desert with no clear sight. Be still, fear not, I am with you, my yoke easy, my burden light. Be strong and courageous, venturing through, I am with you wherever you go. I know the plans I have for you, not to harm you, but prosper and grow. I am the vine, abide in me, the living water to quench your thirst. Knock on my door, I'll open, no key. I seek the lost and the last, not the first.
Search and sell all for the great priced pearl. You'll find me when that's what you seek. Be salt and light to a bitter, dark world. My strength is found in the meek. Follow me to plant and to sow. My kingdom is like children as these. Train them up in the way they should go. Mustard seed faith sprouts trees. Follow me to tend to those in need. Feed my sheep, find the lost one. Share your small lunch so crowds can feed. Celebrate, receive, wayward sons. Follow me to teach and to hone. Build on rock, not shifting sand. Check your sin first, then put down the stone. Serve one master, not two, I command. Follow me to serve the least of these. Clothe the naked, tend widows, feed the poor. The roadside stranger has pain you can ease. Wash his feet, bandage his sore. The words of his father became the words of his life. They shaped his heart and guided his course. God crafted and grafted the heart of his wife. Two hearts became one at their source. Inheritance isn't in things we accrue, where rust and decay rot apart. For where is your treasure, your heart will be too, blessed by who lives in my Father's heart. His heart will impart his legacy here. It pulses through family and friends. All our lives we've known, the message is clear. God loves you, have faith, follow him.
Amen.
The gift. So Dad, this is for you. Look what God has given you, 90 years of life. Included in this gift to you is very little strife. He placed you in a family with father, mother, sister, baby, childhood, college grad, and now you are a mister. You found a pretty girl and then she soon became your wife. 5 cute babes with curly hair showed up and filled your life. The Navy gave its siren song and men like you went forth, defending freedoms everywhere, east, west, south, and north. Your scorecard for these 90 years shows you have earned all A's. Humor, values, generous heart, you've shared so many ways. God didn't stop with just one gift. A second is a plus. He gave you life, and then he gave the gift of you to us.